And he wants to know if there's a possibility to use an example Omero for images for storage and analysis tools in Klammern Fitchi. Also, is it possible to implement it?
Fitchi is ImageJ, right? Isn't that another name for ImageJ?
I'm not 100% sure, but I thought so as well, yeah.
So the files are on your computer. So I have right now not Fitchi or ImageJ installed because I personally don't like to use it. Other people like it a lot. So yes, you can just use your normal computer stuff that you have on your local computer. I don't have to integrate it into the database because everything is on your local hard disk or local computer anyhow. So there's no need for integration in my point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stefan, I think we have to cut here and go to our, thank you, Stefan, also for answering all the questions. Yes, I think we go to the next ELN. This will be presented by Sarah Yassigi from Labfolder.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Sarah, and I work with Labfolder. We are a company based in Berlin, Germany, and we offer lab automation services. We do have 3 products in the meantime: Labfolder, our ELN, and Lab Register, our inventory management product. Today we're going to talk about these 2. And we have a 3rd product called Lab Operator. This is more about the execution of experiments and workflows and basically instruments monitoring. So I will start with sharing my screen. You can already see it, right? So as you may know, Labfolder is a web-based software. This means to access it, you go to labfolder.com and you will end up on this page. Now, we do offer 2 versions of Labfolder. So there's the basic version, which is if you go here to, let's say, industry, you can see the differences between the basic and the advanced version. The basic is a free one. It's good for like 1-2 people just to test it out. It has 3 GB storage. The advanced version has 300 GB. And of course, it has many more features. So feel free to look into that. And because we work with companies in very regulated fields, we also, if you go to our white papers, you can see that we're ISO certified. We meet the FDA requirements. We're GLP compliant. So also you can get a look into that, and of course let me know if you have any questions. So as I said, to log in, you put your email and password, and yesterday actually we introduced the single sign-on function, so you can also sign in with your Gmail or Microsoft. So when you log in, basically you will end up here, which is the last experiment that we're working on. Now, before I get into the details of the experiment, there are 3 main aspects that Labfolder focuses on. If you go to manage, you can see that you can manage your groups, you can manage your projects, and you can manage your templates. I will start with the groups just to give you an overview. Of course, you will have the name of your company or institution. Here we have many, it's just because we're testing. And when you go to one of them, you can see how it's organized. So you have a main group with main admins, and we have subgroups. So at any time, you can always add a subgroup. Within the subgroup, you will have also sub-admins, and this one, for example, is a normal member. Now, what is the difference between an admin and a member? Basically, an admin can invite people, they can kick people out, and they can assign other people to be admins. This is the main difference. Of course, there are more permissions to manage. You can prevent people from deleting content or from creating their own projects and so on. Now, this is the first aspect. The second one is managing the projects. Now, as you can see, you can organize your projects in a way that you have folders. Within the folders, you will have your projects and you can have more folders. So you can have some kind of a tree structure of your projects. And when you add a new project, let's name it test, I can decide who to share this project with. And when I do that, basically, I invite these colleagues to participate in my project. Let's open one of the projects. I have to point out that I'm also not a material scientist. I'm a pharmacist, so I don't know so much about the field, but I will try my best to show you the relevant stuff. So basically, the notebook or the project will consist of entries. Now, these entries, you can add them in two ways. So either you add them from a blank entry, which is from scratch, or from a template that you already have. Let's say you added an entry. You can see that it has a header. You're the author of this entry. You can see when it was created, when it was last modified, and you can always add a custom date. So let's say you did a certain analysis, a certain treatment. You can also define this date. You can name it, so it has a header, a title, and you can add a tag. So let's say you want to organize somehow your projects or entries in a way that you're using this batch one, and you, in different entries, for example, you can put a tag on it that you're using it in this entry. I will open it to show you the tools. Labfolder offers these tools here on the left. It's pretty straightforward and easy. So the first one is the text element, basically like this one. It's like editing any kind of text. So the font, the color, the size. In the text element, you can add a hyperlink, so to refer to something outside of the ELN. But also you can refer to something inside of the ELN. So you can also add a hyperlink to another project. The next one is the sketch element. I didn't know really what to sketch about this certain experiment, but on the iPad, it's definitely more beneficial, especially that people are moving from papers to ELN. So sometimes they're still used to using their handwriting, so they can use the sketch element for that. The table element, that's an example. It's basically like working with Excel sheets or Google Sheets. And this is already integrated in Labfolder, so you don't have to go outside and work with Excel and then import it. So you can simply start in Labfolder. The next one is the upload file. Basically, you can upload to Labfolder any kind of file. Now, some files will open and you can see them, such as images, as you can see here. Of course, you can make it smaller and bigger. Other kind of files, I will go down just to show you an example here. It will look like this, so it will look like an icon. Now, PDF files, you can preview, and when you preview, you can download or print. Other kind of files, for example, as I said, Excel sheets or Word files, you can preview, but also you have the option to extract. So when you extract, it will open next to it, and then you can edit this new version. Of course, this previous one won't be changed if you edit the new version, so you can either have it still the original one, or you can simply delete it. Now, the files that don't open using Labfolder, you can simply have them within your experiment, so in your notebook, but you can download them and then use the software, any software to open them. Now, the next one, we call it the data element. Basically, the data element comes in different shapes, so it can be numerical, so you want to define a number, let's say a temperature you used, velocity, the time, whatever you want it as a number, so you can define, I use this temperature and I can put the number. It can be like this one, which is descriptive, so you want to describe about a certain item or element that you used, you can also do that. Of course, you can simply write them in the text element, but in this way, you will find them more organized, and I will show you later that you can search for them easier. Now, the third form of the data element is this one, which is related to the inventory. Now, if I click, these are basically, this is an instrument that I use, let's say, or a tool or an item that I use. And if I click on one of them, it will take me to lab register. That's one way to access lab register. And the other way is here on the top, you can switch to lab register. Sorry, can you still see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, the lab register will be also empty at the beginning, and you can always add a category. These are not predefined categories. This means you can name it whatever category that you want. So let's say we named lab devices. Now here, these devices, we added them in two ways. So there are two ways to add items. Either you add an item and you define attributes for this item manually. Basically, an attribute means, what do I want to know about this item? So these things here on the top, the name, the status, the manufacturer, where it's located, if it needs maintenance or not, the barcodes, and so on. So I can add these manually, or the other option is here, you can import items from Excel. So let's say you ordered some stuff to your lab and you have them as an Excel sheet. You can import this Excel sheet and it will open like this instead of writing the whole thing manually. I will go on one of the devices to show you. So these are the attributes that I added about the device. Lab register gives me an item ID. This is automatic and unique for each item. And from the item ID, you are able to generate barcodes or QR codes. This is one way. The other way, if you already have the item in your lab with a barcode on it and you have a scanner, you can just scan the barcode and then you will have the number in lab register. You can add files. So let's say this is a device and I want to know how to use it. I can add a manual. I can define relationships. This means I can connect items together. So I can define these are parents items and these are children items, and I can connect them together. And the most important one, which is references, you can see it's written 52. This means that this device was used 52 times. And I can see who used it in what experiment and on what date. And I can simply click on the entry and it will take me back to the ELN to this experiment. I would say that's most of it for a lab register. I will go back to the ELN. I would say these are the tools. The last one is the well-played templates. I don't think it's relevant for this topic, but basically it's, I think it's more relevant for chemical labs or biology. These are the tools that you can use, and I didn't mention these stuff here on the top. So we have the history button. As you can see, you can go back to any step and see what happened. So everything is audit trail and nothing can be deleted. And we have comments. So let's say my colleague noticed that I did something wrong in my entry. They can leave me a comment and then I get a notification. So this is one way for collaboration between the team, but also we have, if you go to apps, you can see what we have: messages, tasks, and to-do. So you can assign tasks to people, messaging, and to-dos to yourself. And everything you will find as a summary here in the dashboard. In addition, now that we're on the apps, you can see that we have sign and witness. I don't know if that's relevant for you, but basically that you can sign entries or projects, and basically it will log after you sign it, and then it can't be edited anymore. So in Labfolder, you're allowed, it allows two people to sign. So basically one person to sign, the other one to witness. We have integrations with Dropbox and Figshare. So if you have also your files in Dropbox, you can access them from here. And as you can see, we have XHTML export. We have in Labfolder 2 kinds of exports. That's one of them. So this is if you want to gather all your projects in a zip file, you can do that. And the other kind of export is PDF export. And when you do that, it will ask you, do you want to export only this entry or the entire project? And you can have it as a PDF. Now, of course, theoretically, we have 3 kinds of exports, because also you can do exports through the API. Labfolder has an open API, and it helps also if you want to do some integrations with other softwares. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can add entries either from scratch or from a template. We have a section for a template. So instead of writing the whole protocol or the experiment, you can have it as a template, and you can just use it instead of writing the whole thing. And you can, of course, leave these blank, and you fill them out every time you use a template. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the search element. Of course, you can simply search a word, but also we have this advanced search. So you can search through content, the author, the date, the data element, the file. So if you want to find a certain word in a PDF file, you can also do that. The lab register items, the tags, and so on. But also you can do more granular search. So let's say you're searching through content, and I wrote a word, let's say buffer. I can add to it that it's handwritten by my colleague. Let's try Violetta, for example. And when I search, I can find all the entries and the templates that Violetta wrote the word buffer in these entries. Of course, I can do more granular search. I can search, let's say it's not written a certain date before 2022, and so on. Of course, there's something really cool about the search is that it can search through typos. So if I don't know the word really, and I wrote instead of buffer, I wrote something similar, so butter, for example, and I search, I can find the same results for the word buffer. It's because it will find the closest thing. And the same thing for units and molarities. So if you're searching milliliters, it will also show you the liter. So it will know that this is basically connected. Now, the last thing I want to mention, sorry, that's a different experiment, but anyway, we finished. So the last thing I want to mention is that we offer 2 kinds of installations. So it can be either on our cloud, which is based on Amazon AWS. It's located in Frankfurt, or we do offer also on-premise installation, so on your local computer. I would say, I hope I covered everything, but I would say that's most of it. Feel free to ask questions.
So thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Yes, we have a number of questions in the chat. Florian Dobner, are you here? Can you ask your questions? Or otherwise?
Yeah, sure, I can ask them myself. The second one you already answered, if there is a self-hosted variant available. So thank you for that already. And the second one, or rather the first one I was having, was if Labfolder also supports exporting into this .eln format we see from ELAB FTW or other ELNs today.
Actually, that was interesting for me today. No, we don't have this for now, but I wrote it actually because it seems very interesting. No, for now, we don't have this. I have to say there's one thing, of course, I couldn't cover everything. There's something that I noticed in these experiments that you sent to us already, that we have a lot of use of machines and instruments in a combination with our third product. This is also very interesting that you can pull data from instruments. So let's say you're using a scale, you can also pull the data to the ELN without also writing with your hands. That's something that can be interesting for some people. But to answer your question, no, we don't have this export.
But is it somewhat planned, or you cannot say because you're like in the early stage of like investigating into that? But mean, it could be that you say you want to implement it in 3 months or something, let's say.
I can't say a deadline. Usually, yeah, I can't really say unless I know it's on the agenda. And they say also, yeah, like this is for next year, for example. But for now, I didn't hear any deadline, so I can't really communicate this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah, I believe, Nicolas, 2 questions from your side.
Yeah, you showed that you can sign an experiment. So what is the signature protocol? Like, does it have multi-factor authentication?
Sorry, let's move this to the other screen to show you. So for example, I believe this experiment, yes, this entry, for example, is signed, and you can see here, there's a hash number in the bottom. It's signed by me. There's the date, and the signature is FDA approved. Now, when you sign, so let's say this one, I can, because we introduced yesterday the single sign-on, so there's some stuff I should change, but basically you can choose to sign with your handwriting or with your password, and you can assign it then to your colleague to witness it. So when they witness it, the entry will log, and then basically you can use it, let's say, externally if you want to have it as a PDF. And if my colleague noticed that I did something wrong, I can also here, as you can see, revoke the signature, and then I can edit again. That's one way. The other way, if I want to edit, I can duplicate also the entry and then edit
So
it.
is it EIDAS compliant?
Sorry?
Is it EIDAS compliant, which is a European specification for signature?
Actually, I have no idea, but I would like to write this.
Yeah, you should look into it.
But I assume so, because these signatures are used
because normally like it sends you a SMS or something, so you have like 2-factor authentication to really prove that it's you and not just the student coming to your computer and
I get
doing
it.
the click. You see my point?
Actually, I have to check with that. I can't really answer this.
Put
Yes,
it in the chat. Yeah,
yes, that would be great. Thank you.
And I had also another question. So the table element looks very nice. Are you using Microsoft Office something, or is it something else? And the question is, aren't you linking the data to Microsoft when you use the table element, the Excel edition?
I also really can't answer this. It's not really, I'm not a developer, so I don't know, but it's not exactly Excel. It has exactly the same functions, but I guess I can send you also the name for that. I can look into it in 5 minutes and send you the name in the chat. But basically, if you can import the Excel files that you have in your computer and extract them, so basically it has the same functions as the Excel, but no, it's not really Microsoft.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. As far as I can see, we have some questions which we shift to the general discussion, but we have a one from Tillman Beck, which goes directly to Sarah. Tillman, are you here?
Yeah, hello. I posted it in the chat to shorten the discussion. You've mentioned the pricing for industry.
Yes.
And my question is, are there discounts for research and education institutions, such as universities or research centers?
Yes, I can show you. Actually, for institutions and academia, we don't offer discounts because the price is already quite low. Let me show you here. This is academia, so we have it 17 euros per user. And this is per month, but we take an annual payment, so depending on also the number of users. But this is for academia. For industry, it's 52 euros, but for industry, we do offer discounts for startups. So we look into if the startup is young and depending on the funding and so on, so we do offer discounts.
So, okay, in academia, it's then about 200 euros per year.
Yes, yes, for one user, yeah.
To a mid-sized working group to about 5,000 euros per year, considering 25.
How much is mid-size, do you mean?
I think 25 people at a university.
So yes, also about that, we do offer bulk discounts. So starting 25, we start, it's 16 euros and so on. I can also share these specific infos if you would like with an email, but 25 users and then 50, 100 and so on. So also we do offer bulk discounts, yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe Tim,